officially into
football season countdown.
Football season.
You still got transfer portal for baseball.
Yeah.
Stewart just gave me the He said, "No, we're going to football.
Sir,
Let's get back to football."
It's over.
Yeah, it's football season now.
Over.
It ain't no more basketball, no more baseball. It's football season.
Let's move it on to football.
And it's recruiting season, and LSU has been active here in recruiting. They've had some good news and they've had some bad news. And we will get to it as Keelan Moses visited Oregon over the weekend. Jabari Antoine, the 4-star cornerback, top DB in the state of Louisiana, decommitted over the weekend from LSU. Antoine says that LSU is still in the mix. Florida State and Miami, the schools that are in it now for his recruitment. And LSU was able to pick up a defensive line commitment in Richard
Anderson.
Yes, Richard Anderson, along with Jesse Harold, committed to LSU over the last couple of days as well. So a lot of activity for LSU and a lot of news and people curious about the Keelan Moses thing. And I would say that this is really the polluted part of recruiting that could get, really from a player prospect standpoint, a little bit of a turnoff. And I think it works both ways. I am pro player. I think that we have to be realistic in the sense that this only happens one time in their life, right? Like they only have the opportunity. Players of Keelan Moses's caliber is what I'm speaking about. That have the chance to say, hey, look, I want to come visit your school on your dime, right? And I can do this countless amounts of time, and these are the schools that I want to go see. And when that happens, the school is going to roll the red carpet and really show a lot of love, support to that player. So, anybody that is surprised by this, anybody that's turned off by this, anybody that lets the emotion get to them on this, for them to reach out to the player via social media, I just think you lose focus of what this whole thing is about. And Keelan Moses, put on social media. I find it hilarious how an in-state kid that could receive so much disgusting hatred for just being a kid, you guys crack me up. Look, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent to put out of the statement, he's giving you an idea of how he feels and really kind of a peek behind the curtain of how everybody feels on this stuff. For fans to reach out to players and giving them their feelings about them taking visits and going to see schools while they're committed, uncommitted, whatever it may be, it's just, you got to know the line to it. Like, I'm not saying that you can't say, hey, man, congratulations, welcome aboard, how was Oregon? Whatever you want to do. If you're really into recruiting, who the hell am I to tell you how to handle it? But,
but how much do you think you're helping if that's what your ideal is? But anything negative or anything, name calling, anything, it's mindless to think that would even register on them other than turn them completely away and off from the school. And, good on Keelan Moses. It's not going to work. I've seen it happen before. We've talked about it on this platform before, hoping and just kind of crossing your fingers that at some point you just stop. But I just think it's a revolving door and a cycle of a section of fans who feel so entitled that Keelan Moses really cares what you think. And he doesn't at all. Not in the least bit. So when you give him what you feel, this is how he really feels about it. Like, he's laughing at it, but check his tone. It's like, yeah, I'm doing a lot of work for LSU, but I also have an opportunity of a once-in-a-lifetime experience that, if you're with me, support it, knowing that, I would be shocked floored.
Yes.
Just jaw on the floor. What if Keelan Moses leaves Louisiana? I mean, and if you really, really follow recruiting and are dialed into it, then it would be tough to take away anything but that. I mean, the kid is all in to LSU, Louisiana, the football program, the class, a spokesperson, a face. Let him go enjoy Oregon for the weekend. I mean, like, go have a great time, man. Go, because let me tell you, when Keelan Moses is not going to enjoy Oregon, when they bring him back out there in October, and it's 30 degrees and it's sleeting, and he's thinking, all my boys are down in Baton Rouge in the sunshine getting ready for a big SEC game, and I'm homesick. I'm ready to go home.
And we got to play at Penn State next week.
Across the country.
In the middle of June.
Take a walk.
In the summer in Eugene, it's awesome. I mean, it's everybody's outside, everybody's enjoying, I was in the same experience this weekend. Yesterday, I was in Cincinnati for the afternoon, and the town, the place was buzzing. It was on the Ohio River. I was kind of walking the river walk. I was scootering the river walk, and then I was kind of walking around. And, there were so many people just kind of buzzing. The Pirates are in town. The Reds were about to play the Pirates. They had played the Boston Red Sox over the weekend. And
it's outside.
It was a beautiful day. And I'm like, man, this town's got some great energy to it, man. And he's like, well, you got to imagine, during the summer, we all work half days. And I'm like, that makes sense. He's like, because we spend 9 months of the year cooped up inside, mad, miserable.
In the snow.
Freezing.
Skyline chili.
So when opportunities like today, it was like a Louisiana summer day in Cincinnati yesterday. It was humid, but not what I got off the plane to last night.
Welcome to reality.
Yes, it hits you like a shield.
It does.
It is like walking through like the upside down.
Yeah.
It's a totally different
because you
experience.
Almost, for some reason, like in your brain, you're almost like, maybe it won't be. And then it's like, nope, here it is. Here's that 100 degrees of Louisiana right at you. Like humid, hot, like, okay, I'm back home.
Sabrion Green, Jordy, what's the point of committing to a school if you still want to visit other schools? It's a good question, but in the same sense, you got to look at the timing of the commitments, right? Keelan Moses is going into his senior season. For the most part, Moses has a clear understanding of what recruitment is, what people are selling, what the programs look like. He understands it. He still has official visits to take.
And he can.
I still am, I'm not Dabo on this thing of if they're committed, they can't talk to another school. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. If you do your job in recruiting and you know what the priority is, then, you're pretty comfortable on all of this stuff. If you look at the tea leaves on a guy like Jabari Antoine, he spent the whole summer in Florida. He plays on a 7-on-7 team out of the state of Florida. He's missing time in Louisiana at LSU to visit Miami and Florida. It's usually they kind of tell you what's going to happen, right? What's the priority of Antoine? And I think Antoine is in a situation for a team like LSU where Miami and Florida State can come in and say, hey, let's find one prospect, two prospects out of a Louisiana class, an LSU class that you can go after and target and say, hey, look, Bryce Underwood, Harlem Berry, at some point DK Moore is going to get back into it. Some of these big headline recruits are getting some pretty sweet deals. Some pretty sweet NIL deals coming into the class. What are you getting, Jabari? Well, I'm getting X, Y, and Z. Well, if you're Florida and Miami, you just say, well, here's what you mean to us. And if you're LSU at this point, what recruiting used to be is now it would turn into just put the pedal to the metal and make sure that Antoine stays home and, doesn't leave the state. Now in the transfer portal age, if you lose a guy like Antoine because of an NIL promise, but he's a Louisiana kid or somebody that is very much tied to the state, then you have to keep the relationship alive for a potential transfer down the line. I mean, it's just a totally different approach in recruiting than what it was 2-3 years ago. And I'm not saying that the door is closed on Antoine. I'm just saying that priorities in different schools are prioritizing a guy like Antoine and making him feel a bit more special and loved than he's getting or feels from LSU. And in today's world, that's one of the huge frustrating points, I think, for coaches.
I mean, you could kind of read it in this article. He said, I had a fun time, a good experience talking about his Miami visit. Miami was the first school to offer me, so I had to give them a chance. Coming down and talking to the coaching staff, seeing everybody, it was building that relationship, and I enjoyed it. And then he added, they are the only school that has been really consistently chasing him since they're offering me. Text me every day, call me every day, a school that has been in my ear a lot when speaking about Miami. And then he said about Florida State, they kept it real. Comparing it to the other programs, they kept it real with me. They didn't tell me what I wanted to hear on the official visit, so that really stood out, and I have the utmost respect for that. So he doesn't say anything about LSU in this article. It's only about Miami and Florida State, and I mean, just reading into that, it means he just wants to give them a chance.
Yeah.
Like, he committed early. Now he's just giving everybody else that offered him a chance.
And I would say the same thing for Keelan Moses. Like, the guy that came in, solidified the class, recruited the class for LSU, like, was one of the biggest spokespeople. And still doing it, right.
Still doing it.
But, like, when you go that early and commit that early, like, you start to see, like, everybody have fun around you. You're like, damn, like, maybe I want to go to the dance, too. Well, it's okay to go take visits.
And I don't even think that it's, like, I see that happening, so I want to do it. I know what this experience is about.
Right.
I want to do it. I want to take part in it.
And I mean, if there's anybody that has experience in this, it would be Keelan Moses, because he saw his brother do it, where it's like, I understand how this whole thing works. But I think he came in at a time where LSU needed somebody to solidify the class, and he did that. Like, you needed a name to pop, and it's like, okay, LSU's hit the ground running recruiting. He recruited and helped LSU recruit. And now if you want to do, like, this happens in recruiting all of the time, right, where it becomes, I'm committed, I want to look around.
And okay. I would, I mean, we've said this before, and I mean, I'm sure we'll say it again the next time it happens, because one thing is for certain, it's going to happen again, is that when you talk to these guys on social media and you let them know how you feel and, how emotionally tied you are to this stuff, it's a slippery slope. I mean, it's a very slippery slope, and I would advise of totally just against it at all. I wouldn't even tell them congratulations, good job, good luck, because it just kind of opens up the door to tell them that you suck, I told you so, you're terrible, and when that stuff happens, it's just
it's a slippery slope.
And LSU still leads on the RPM on 3, and they still lead. And rivals
for Antoine,
So I mean, look, he's just taking his visits. Like, let him enjoy a summer in Florida. They got palm trees and the beaches. Like, sorry.
And Chevish Jackson's there. I didn't know that he was
Chevish
that's
Jackson's
one
the
thing
Miami
that,
coach.
Yeah.
It's a great hire.
Yeah,
and their defensive coordinator was the former head coach at McNeese. So
I mean, his
got
name pops up, and they look. The formula is and always has been. Put your target on a couple of them, one in general. Go get them. Just annoy LSU, annoy their board. Like just a guy that they need, somebody that they're high on. Let's go after and get Landon Collins. Make sure you get Cam Robinson. I mean, just guys that they have to have. Go pick them off. So I think that's That's definitely, you kind of reading between the lines here. That's what's happening. And yes, Chevis Jackson, he knows. And he's like, look, I guarantee you, they're all talking about Jabari Antoine over at LSU and that board. Let's go after him and let's just put our foot down and let's get him.
And Miami they offered the cornerback from Ruston, Aiden Anding. So they are in Louisiana.
Right.
So, I mean, if LSU just